All right, guys. Last segment of the day, one of my personal favorites, based on the fact that I'm in 12 fantasy leagues. Pray for me. Fishing for fantasy. Rob, go ahead and get us started with this. I'll let you say it. You got
Yeah,
it.
I'm
We'll
going to go
talk about
ahead
it.
and start off by partially trolling Zach and partially giving Zach a heart attack at an early age. I am going to recommend for this week the quarterback of the gasp Washington football team, Taylor Heineke. Now, before Zach chokes on his water, Taylor Heineke is currently the 15th ranked quarterback, and the Kansas City Chiefs are the 32nd ranked defense against quarterbacks in fantasy. Their defense is bad. Now, I know that Taylor had a horrible week this week. I do expect him to bounce back. I don't expect him to play as poorly against the Chiefs. It's important to remember that the Saints have had a pretty good defense now for about 2 years. The Chiefs really, their salary cap favors their offense. They don't have good position players on defense. They don't have what they need. Their defense has just truly been struggling across the board, especially to the quarterback position. More importantly, in this game, we expect the Chiefs to put up a lot of points. Now, with that, that means that the Washington football team either has to keep up putting a lot of points up, or they'll be getting blown out, and Heineke will be getting garbage time points that have absolutely no impact on the actual game itself, but that fantasy managers love. I think you can expect high 20s, maybe if you're lucky, low 30s this week against a putrid Kansas City Chiefs defense.
So, I'm going to very quickly say, don't do that. If you have ever watched Taylor Heineke play football, you've probably been like, huh, that wasn't great, was it? And then you'll be justified to know, no, it's not great. Taylor Heineke, also, just to touch on something you said really, really quick, you said that the Chiefs are going to blow them out and then Washington will get garbage time points. But that's all theoretical because you have to be able to complete passes to successfully have garbage time points. And Taylor Heineke doesn't do that great, if I say so myself. So I'm going to give you guys a real recommendation. Mr. No disrespect, Rob. No disrespect. A little disrespect. Real recommendation, QB Trevor Lawrence. He is, and I get it, he plays for the Jags, but he's still available in about 43% of all ESPN leagues, which is where I get my numbers for rostership. He plays Miami. It's a weak offense. And mind you, guys, we're just talking about QB streamers. We're not talking about people who are going to start you the rest of the year.
Oh, God,
and be
no.
amazing. Yeah, absolutely not. He's playing against Miami. He runs a lot. He's a mobile quarterback. People don't really talk about that. And sometimes I wonder why, but he does have the ability to run very well. He's getting more confident each week. It seems like, he's had some good lead at half situations. Urban Meyer, although he's terrible at his job, is at least starting to use some of the right weapons for him. So I fully expect Trevor Lawrence to score about 20 points to 25 points. And I think Taylor Heineke scoring 30 points, if that happens, play the lottery because you started him and somehow it happened. I think Taylor Heineke is going to get like 15 to 18 points because he's not very good. But that's just me. Anyways, that's the most that you guys will ever see me disrespect Rob on this podcast. I promise.
I kind of poke the bear with the Washington football team pick after that segment. All right, up next, the next two running backs I'm going to cover are Devontae Booker and Darrell Williams. These are basically just logical replacements for injured players. Saquon Barkley had basically a beehive growing out of his ankle after a really bad hit. Very swollen. He will be out for about 2 to 4 weeks. We believe Devontae Booker will be his backup. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a really scary knee injury. It looks like it's going to be an MCL injury where he's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks. That means most likely we're thinking Darrell Williams is going to be taking over for that role. Granted, the Chiefs do like to air it out a lot, but a starting running back is a starting running back.
And then another running back that we're going to go with. I'm going to give you guys a running back, then I'll start our receivers and then pass it back off to Rob here. Khalil Herbert for the Bears. Dude had a very impressive senior year, I guess final year technically at Virginia Tech, and went in 6th round. Wasn't really like a guy who was on a lot of people's radars unless you were really big into like off-season fantasy stuff and into college football. And after David Montgomery got hurt, there was some talk maybe this is the guy who's going to take over. Wait and see. So Damian Williams got the touchdown, but Khalil Herbert actually touched the ball more than Damian Williams and averaged a better YPC than Damian Williams. So Khalil Herbert might be the guy that you want to snatch up here for the next 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how much longer that Montgomery's going to be out. Just because the dude is naturally super talented and is already being shown that he's going to get some volume with this rushing attack and with a mobile quarterback who opens up rushing lanes for him to be more productive. And the wide receiver that I'm going to be bringing up here is that same wide receiver, Mr. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, Kadarius Toney. The man looked like a holy nightmare for the Cowboys. And I understand that the Cowboys defense, they're good. They're not the best of all time, but they're good. And he did this to them as a rookie who barely had any practice time over the summer, mind you, due to injuries, COVID issues, and some other concerns that the team had with him. So expect more of this guy going forward now that a lot of the Giants are hurt. Sterling Shepard, Kenny Golladay, both out. Saquon Barkley out. Daniel Jones will probably come back. He's in the concussion protocol. But even if he doesn't come back, what's his face? Kadarius Toney did this to this team after having an entire defense only have to focus on him. Super impressive. I recommend him. You got a wide receiver too, Rob. Let's hear about him.
So, unfortunately, by this point, your Hunter Renfrow window has likely closed. I tried, guys. I tried. I gave you like 4 weeks to make a move. I gave you so much time. Even with the Raiders having an atrociously bad game, he still put up double-digit points. You probably missed out. Hey, that's on you. I can't manage a team for you. No, I'm just kidding. But there is still a little bit of a window left on Tim Patrick, who I had mentioned. He is the sort of Hunter Renfrow-esque type player. I think he is only going to have probably one more game in that window before he no longer has his starting role. Jerry Jeudy is expected to come back. Another double-digit point week. Mr. Consistent. If you need a flex fill in for 1 week, maybe Calvin Ridley is on your team and you have to bench him because Falcons are on a bye, something along those lines. You need a wide receiver to fill in. Tim Patrick is a decent pickup. I suspect another double-digit game in that flex role.
Next up, we got tight ends.
Speaking of windows closing.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to bring up the first one here, which is Dawson Knox. Like we said, speaking of windows closing, we told you about Dawson Knox a couple weeks ago. So if you chose not to listen to us because we're amateurs become pros, baby. All right? Like, this is what y'all need to do. And I'm allowed to go 1 for 2 with Mr. Jawan Johnson and then this situation. Anyways.
Can't get them all. Can't win them all, you know?
Yeah, can't get them all, man. Dawson Knox, if he's still available for some reason in your league, spend all of your free agent money on it. Or if you really suck and you're like 0-5, use him as your waiver wire priority, regardless of who your tight end already is, because it's looking like he's going to be a factor moving forward. You could even look at Hunter Henry. You know, he's only rostered in 17% of all leagues, and maybe he has a chance to continue rolling with the Patriots. Mac Jones seems to like to rely on his tight ends if he can. Tight ends and Jacoby Myers, but Jacoby Myers hasn't scored a touchdown since he was in college, which is actually a wild fun fact. So Hunter Henry could be an option. We got one more tight end on here, Rob. Let me hear what you got to say.
Dan Arnold, he was a sleeper for the Panthers before being traded to the Jags. He has shown pretty decent rapport with Trevor Lawrence this last week. Anytime you have a player on the Jaguars, it is a little bit concerning, especially with James Robinson being sort of their primary red zone go-to. But he is a guy to keep an eye on because their team needs all the help they can get. They need players that are capable of getting into the end zone, and I suspect that they will start looking towards tight ends. So keep an eye on Dan Arnold. Maybe worth a bench stash. He has potential. I'm not ready to full commit right now, but he has potential.
Agreed. And just to elaborate on that a little bit, between the 20s, the guy has always had a lot of talent, from New Orleans to Carolina and then here with the Jags. He's only been with that Jags team for 2 weeks now. Already had 6 receptions for like 80 yards or whatever this past week. Trevor Lawrence, he finally has a reliable tight end that he can kind of go to when he needs to. This is an opportunity, I think, for even a potential the year pickup. So my opinion here, Dan Arnold, good guy at the end of your roster. If you're like a 2 tight end league, or if you have like a 20-man league where you need somebody who could be a potential game breaker later on in the year. And then we have one last recommendation here. Rob, you handle the defenses every week, bro. So I'm going to let you finish it off.
We love defense here. The Cowboys. Who knew?
Who knew, man? Who knew?
We saw the talent, and we've said they're the Cowboys. They never materialize. It's a joke, And, well, here we are. They get sacks. They get interceptions. That's kind of the recipe for success. They'll be going up against a rookie quarterback without a ton of weapons. They have the leading interceptor. I don't know if that's a word, but they have the leading interceptor.
It's a word.
Diggs is looking like the real deal right now. Their defense is looking like the real deal. And they've put up points every single week so far. I think they've had maybe one bad week. I think maybe against the Bucs. And other than that, they've been putting up points. So sacks, that's points. Interceptions, that's points. What are the Cowboys doing right now? They're putting up points.
Yeah.
So this week, Cowboys are probably going to be your number 1 waiver wire pickup. See if you can get them.